How's it going, everybody? My name is Philip, and today I'm going to be reacting to the history of the AFL. This says the teams, so this is as of 1897 and 2019. From what I understand, the AFL didn't start until 1990-ish. So obviously, before that, there was obviously all the other teams, and I believe they were in the VFL before it became the AFL. And so, I mean, this is just, it's going to go into, I guess, a little bit more detail. I'm not 100% sure. I feel like if it's going to go into a lot more detail, then it should be more than almost 5 minutes. But I'm not really sure. I'm excited to learn about the history of the league, especially the teams. I think it's always really fun when you're learning about a sport to learn about the league as well, especially like finding a league that you can watch. You know, I know that there's the US AFL here in the United States, which sadly is not as big as the AFL. Just gonna say that. I kind of wish that the US AFL was a lot bigger, you know, at least to the extent of baseball. I mean, because here at baseball, I feel like it's died down a lot, but, you know, there's that history there. So there's always those, you grew up with the sport here, you know, because I grew up watching it. I never played because I couldn't hit the damn ball, but, you know, I grew up loving the Oakland Athletics. That was our team. Like my brother and I, that was our team growing up because my dad loved watching baseball and he played when he was a kid. You know, and I kind of wish that USAFL would kind of have that same kind of history here in the US, and I'm probably going to do a reaction to that as well soon as well, if there's a video, obviously. And if there's not, then I'm just going to do the research and see when it started and all that. But so I'm excited to learn about the teams, and I'm going to do the rivalries next after this one. Not in the same video, but I will do in the next same day thing. Okay, so I've been uploading 2 videos a day. I've been having a lot of fun learning about the sports. I've been having a lot of fun watching the sports. As of recording this, one of the quarterfinals, so one of the finals for AFL is gonna be It's gonna be on tomorrow morning. So it's gonna be like 2:30 in the morning for me, which means I am not going to be awake. So I was able to find them on TV and I'm able to record them. It's the first one, not the one with oh my god, is it the Cats versus the Lions? I think the Geelong Cats. I don't know. I'll probably see them in the video, obviously. But it's the first half of the finals before the grand final, so it will be what we will call the quarterfinals. So I'm babbling and whatnot, but I'm excited to learn about the history. So let's get into it. There we go.
The AFL began life as the VFL, or the Victorian Football League, back in 1897. The inaugural season featured 8 teams, all located in one state: Carlton Blues, Collingwood Magpies, Essendon Bombers, Fitzroy Lions, Geelong Cats, Melbourne Demons, South Melbourne Swans and St Kilda Saints, all of which are still a part of the AFL in 2019 in some shape or form. In 1908, the VFL expanded to 10 teams, with Richmond Tigers and University joining the league. While Richmond have gone on to become one of the biggest clubs in the AFL, University left the VFL just 6 years after they entered, finishing last in every season from 1911 to 1914.
Okay, so I will say that, because the team that I've chosen, if it hasn't been said already, I know someone commented and they guessed it properly. Port Adelaide is the team that I chose specifically for the colors. I did not realize that they were in the finals, which great, but that V looks a lot because of the blue. If it was a different color, I wouldn't have said anything, but that blue looks a lot like Port Adelaide colors. I'm just gonna say that. It's just, you know.
And losing 51 consecutive games.
And that is
the
terrible
VFL
streak.
Expanded again in 1925 with the addition of the Footscray Bulldogs, Hawthorn Hawks and North Melbourne Kangaroos, taking the total number of teams to 12. Incredibly, the league went unchanged for the next 57 years, but the 1980s and 90s saw a drastic period of change and evolution. In the early 80s, those in charge of the VFL were looking to expand outside of Victoria. and with many of the weaker teams struggling financially, change was needed. In 1982, South Melbourne relocated to Sydney in New South Wales. The Sydney Swans became the first non-Victorian team in the VFL. 5 years later, the interstate expansion continued with the addition of the West Coast Eagles from Western Australia and the Brisbane Bears from Queensland.
And the crowd down. VFL hoping for about 20,000. I doubt that they've got it, despite perfect weather. Not a bad kick.
Jeez, that's a big difference from what it is today.
With 3 non-Victorian teams now in the league, the VFL changed its name to the AFL, Australian Football League, in 1990 to represent its more national status. Further expansion occurred in 1991, with the first team from South Australia, the Adelaide Crows, joining the AFL. 1992 saw a historic moment, with the West Coast Eagles becoming the first non-Victorian team to win the premiership.
Oh, nice.
The Eagles had been a huge success since their inception in 1987, and as a result, the AFL decided to further expand with a second Western Australian team entering the league in 1995, the Fremantle Dockers. Naturally, a fierce rivalry developed between the two sides.
Good. Jeez. Yo, I need to watch more like 80s, 90s AFL stuff. It looks brutal. Jeez.
By 1996, many of the smaller Victorian clubs were still struggling financially, and with further expansion on the AFL's agenda, it was decided that a Victorian team must make way. Many possibilities were discussed, including a possible merger between Hawthorn and Melbourne, but this ultimately wouldn't pan out. It became clear the Fitzroy Lions would not be able to continue on its own, and at season's end, they merged with the Brisbane Bears to become the Brisbane Lions. The merger opened the gates for the Port Adelaide Power to join the AFL
There we go.
in 1997, the second team from South Australia following the Adelaide Crows in 1991. Much like the Eagles and Dockers 2 years earlier, a strong rivalry was born between the Crows and Power. The AFL saw no further expansion over the next decade. In the late 2000s, the AFL became interested in the idea of a second Queensland-based team, with the Gold Coast being the desired destination.
Was that the
Serious
Suns?
consideration was given to the idea of relocating North Melbourne to become the Gold Coast Kangaroos. North Melbourne insisted on staying in Victoria, however, so the AFL decided to create an entirely new expansion team, and in 2011, the Gold Coast Suns entered the league.
He fumbles, he gets around the opponent and runs in and kicks the first goal in the Gold Coast history.
The next year, the AFL expanded further into rugby league territory, with the Greater Western Sydney Giants becoming the second team in New South Wales. In 2019, the AFL consists of 18 teams located in 5 states across Australia. The Northern Territory, ACT and Tasmania are the only states or territories without their own team.
Yeah, I
Many
noticed that.
believe that a Tasmanian team will enter the league over the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay, so that's definitely interesting. It was a very quick video, and because I know here in the U.S. the way expansion works, or at least with MLS, is you got to have a shit ton of money. and I would think that if it's so big in Australia, like, is it only big in certain places or just everywhere? Because I could see it if it's gonna have, like, since there's no teams in the northern part, I guess in the Tasmania area is what he said. I feel like it could draw a good crowd. I mean, especially if it's very, very popular. Like, if it's like the NFL here, where, like, for example, Las Vegas didn't have a team forever, and they finally got their team, taking the Oakland team, which it's a bit weird, but, like, I feel like, I don't know. It's definitely really cool though to see the length of the sport. So I would expect it to be, I'm not saying a lot, am I? It's actually really cool. Okay, it's actually really cool, and I kind of figured that the rivalries would take off when the Adelaide team, when Power came into it, because normally that's how MLS is like, oh, LA versus LA, big rivalry, and it's like they haven't even played a game yet, you know, or like New York, New York, or since they're like so close in proximity, a lot of the time it's so fun to go to the games, and it kind of just naturally gets this rivalry, which I'm going to watch next. It's going to be fun. And like I said, I need to see more 70s, 80s, like AFL. I think that's going to be fun to watch, even if it is very brutal. And I understand that it was probably normal at the time. It's just funny how most sports were completely different from what they are now back in the day. And I kind of like it, and I kind of miss it, if I'm going to be honest. Seeing some of the videos, I'm just like, why can't we have something similar to this nowadays? I get player safety and all, but I like the physicality. You know, it's like if they're not being physical, if they're not fighting, it just doesn't give me that feeling of they wanna play, you know? Like if you see them fight and you see them want to beat the other team and they're literally throwing fists, then it shows me that they want to win. They want to play. But this was definitely interesting. I really enjoyed it. If there's a longer version of this, let me know in the comment section below. I would definitely love to learn in more detail a lot of the history. But thank you so much for watching. It's definitely really cool to learn a little bit of the history. And so thank you so much for joining me. Leave a like rating if you enjoyed this kind of content. It will help me out immensely. Let me know what you guys like and what you don't like and whatnot. Subscribe for more content like this. I'm going to do a lot more sports. I've been meaning to do Gaelic football. I just haven't done it yet. Yeah, comment down below on what else I should react to. Like I said, let me know if there's any specific video for old AFL. Because I would love to see that. It'd just be so brutal, and my sadistic side is coming out, which is kind of bad. I just want to see people get hurt, but then I do, and then I get squeamish. So I get goosebumps. Yeah. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.